What's happening, y'all? It is me, resident supervillain Mr. J. Washington, and I'm here with my review for Transformers Rise of the Beast. If you have not seen this movie yet, come on back because there will be spoilers. As always, I like to make sure I show my gratitude and appreciation to everyone who rocks with your boy, everybody who's a new subscriber, who's been subscribed, everybody who joins, everybody who listens to the podcast, all those things, follows the clips, whether they be social media or here. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. If you know me, you know I'm a big ass fan of Transformers. There's no doubt about that. So when I saw the first trailer for this, I was already excited. I knew we were getting the Maximals. I was a little bit hesitant when I heard we were getting Terracons because Terracons are 5 monsters that form Abominus, and these aren't those. But I digress. Overall, my thoughts on the film. I fucking loved it. Okay. Let me tell you something. I said this in a tweet, and if you haven't followed me on Twitter, I'm going to say it here. Stephen Caple Jr. needs to get the entire universe now if he wants it, because he gets it. What do I mean by he gets it? Michael Bay, in all 5 of his movies, did one thing that a lot of people just didn't care about. Gave us human stories. Let's be real. We don't give a shit about the human stories in a movie about giant robots that change into shit, fight and destroy shit. We want giant robots either fighting, blowing up something. That's what we want, and that's what you get out of this from the beginning. The introduction of the Maximals fighting Scourge, who, by the way, when I hear Scourge, I think of this second lieutenant to Galvatron from G1. I think Galvatron, then Cyclonus, and Scourge, who was created by Unicron during the Transformers movie, the first original movie. But this Scourge is a badass. And he has Nightbird and Stratosphere with him. And they badass too. And you find out the Unicorn has powered them up in this whole thing about finding the key. The initial battle with Scourge and the Maximals, because you get Primus, then he passes it on to Optimus Primal. So there is always a passing of the torch of the primes, the Optimus names in a sense. You know, the whole Prime legacy. So that's cool, you get that. I will bring up some of the human element in this though, because overall, like I just said, we don't care about a full story about humans. They have to carry some of the stuff that goes on, of course, because again, in the cartoons, initially you had Spike and Sparkplug, then you brought in Chip, then you brought in, I can't remember her name, the girl that Spike fell in love with. So you bring them along. I understand that part, right? And Anthony Ramos as Noel Diaz is amazing in this, and Dominique Fishback as Elena. The way their paths intersect, her working in a museum, him being former military, trying to get his life together, living in Brooklyn with his mom, played by Luna Lauren Velez, who's out here killing the game. She's amazing in Across the Spider-Verse. I've loved this since New York Undercover. That goes back. And then his younger brother who has sickle cell. And, you know, he's just trying to find a job, you know, and he has an interview, and his old CO, you know, his new potential hirer called his OCO, and he was like, yo, you're not a team player, and you just try to do everything on your own, which you always know those are kind of be set up things to the bigger picture. But when we get the introduction, first of all, Toby Wigway is in this. If you don't know who Toby Wigway is, he's a hot rap out of Houston who's made so many dope songs. Try Jesus, Please Don't Try Me, because I throw hands, it's my ringtone, and many other things. He plays Reek in this. And Toby Wigway, for his acting debut, is phenomenal, right? We see all the struggle that Anthony Ramos' character is going through to try to get to be able to take care of his family. And then, you know, when he gets out of luck with the interview and things like that. The series of events that brings him to Mirage, as we've seen in the trailer, which I did not know that Mirage was voiced by Pete Davidson at first. I didn't. Mirage, again, there is a G1 level of certain Transformers you're used to seeing, and so you have to pull back. And this level of Mirage, as compared to G1, I like more, because this Mirage, because Mirage in the G1 just turns invisible. This Mirage, his thing is he can change shapes. He can change, in the different cars as we see in the trailer. And it's hilarious. There's so many jokes. There's a joke, like the Bond, like we are used to the Bond of Sam Witwicky, played by Shia LaBeouf, who, by the way, was at a comedy show I just did a couple of weeks ago at the Ice House in Pasadena. Him and his wife, Mia Goth, came in. They just sat in the second row, chilled. I was like, yo, that's a cool dude. And I got to do my Transformers joke, which is up on my social media. I digress. But there is a bonding because when Anthony Ramos realizes that Mirage is real and gets introduced to Optimus and RC as well as Bumblebee, he's trying to, Mirage is like, yo, we homies. Give me a pound, all this other stuff. And Mirage is just so real. But there's a one point where Mirage is like, yeah, we best friends. We friends and all this. And Noel, Anthony Ramos' character is like, we're not friends. He's like, Mirage is like, oh, you were inside me. And it's just like, what? That is just a part of the humor within it. The Air Razor, when she comes into the current situation, Michelle Yeoh voices her, and you feel the regality of Air Razor. Cheetor and Rhinox, seeing them, phenomenal. I felt cheated on one thing. I said it in my trailer reaction when I did it. I wanted a rat trap. I didn't get rat trap. It's okay. Unicron. Let me say this. They said who Unicron was, showed Unicron is a monstrous thing that eats worlds, and we watch Unicron eat a world. Seeing Unicron eat a world gives me hope that Marvel Studios can get Galactus correct. Because we remember what we got in Rise of the Silver Surfer when that was Fox doing that and how abysmal Galactus was just a cloud and all that. But Unicron, there's a scene, so Scourge is on Earth, Unicron's in another dimension, and Scourge is trying to get this key to bring Unicron through. And the way Scourge communicates with Unicron is almost telepathic. If you remember the movie The Golden Child, the way Scourge talks to Unicron, it is the way Brother Numsi talks to the devil. It is exact. I think there are references from so many different movies. I can see what Stephen Caple Jr. got the influence from. But I was like, I get where he did that from. Also, Unicron powers up Scourge, Nightbird, and Stratosphere, kind of like Unicron powered up Galvatron, Cyclonus, and even Unicron is in Scourge's head. Now, there are a lot of G1 references because RC, who's voiced by Liza Koshy, there's a line she says, Scourge has the key. I know it's the most basic ass line. I know people are like, yo, it's just a basic line. That line is literally a line from the Transformers Rebirth last 3 episodes of G1. RC is like, Scourge has the key. Get him. And I was like, that is the exact same line. And granted, some people are like, well, it's just coincidental. But it's the same thing. There is so many nods to the original G1 series. We hear Optimus say, till all are one. Till all are one. We are getting more G1-esque Transformers in this film than Michael Bay ever fucking did. I understand that they're fans of the Bay series and all that, but I'm not. I was happy when we first got it. I was like, yo, we getting Transformers. And I was like, bro, this is not my Optimus. This is not my Soundwave. Ravage is not my Ravage. This is not my Megatron. All these things. And I understand the shape shifting as far as condensing in size when it comes to Soundwave and Megatron especially. I get it, but whatever. The Scorponok that Unicron releases, and Scourge pretty much. Scorponok is the giant headmaster made out of the Hive City that Zarak, the ruler of the Hive, becomes the head with. Scorponok fights Fortress Maximus. Fortress Maximus is a city made from the old Hive City before they moved underground and developed their mental powers that Spike used. He converted it to model Cerebros, and Spike is the headmaster to Cerebros, and Cerebros is the headmaster to Fortress Maximus, and he fights Scorponok. So when I hear Scorponok, I'm thinking this big ass triple changer, because Scorponok goes from a city to a scorpion to a robot, and then we just get these little scorpions. That's the G1 fan in me. Digress, right? But they get annoying. When it comes to the Maximals, Ron Perlman as Optimus Primal, you got everything you wanted to get out of that. The regality, the leadership, the taking on responsibility, the guilt. Both Optimuses go through that. in this. It's a point some things how we see in the trailer, Bumblebee getting his ass whooped, and Prime takes it on the chin as it basically it's his guilt. And we see that. By the way, speaking of Scourge, I did not know also Peter Dinklage voiced Scourge and was terrifying, but it works. To see Cheetor, Rhinox, Primal, they were massive. Again, I understand we're not doing the condensing in sizes, so they are massive in regards to just regular humans. Cheetor is fucking humongous walking, so is Rhinox. Cheetor and Primal also shouts out to the visual effects department because the hairs on Cheetor, the hairs on the fur of Primal, pristine. Speaking of the Maximals, when you tell me you're giving me the Maximals, there is one thing if you're a fan of Beast Wars, you needed to hear. Maximals, maximize. And Optimus Primal says that. That to me was the Avengers Assemble for this film, right? Before I go any further, this takes place in 1994. The soundtrack is off the meter. If you are an old school hip hop head like myself, when I tell you, you hear every joint, you and this bitch rocking with the joint you hearing. Me and my homies, we in the theater, watch this bitch every time. Cream, come on, we out here. Cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money. Dollar bill, y'all. It gets you so amped up, it keeps you in it. Again, it goes back to what I was saying, that Stephen Caple Jr. gets it. He understands this universe. He understands when he's putting things in a certain time element. He understands all the elements that are there. He understands all this. Now, I'm not going to make this too long because I know a lot of people don't like long reviews. The post-credit scene, I already told y'all this is a spoiler alert. The post-credit scene, one of them is Mirage basically. So we did see Anthony Ramos get the exosuit. The exosuit is similar to what Daniel gets in G1. However, this exosuit looks kind of familiar to something else. And it's a nod to something you don't catch on to until a post-credit scene. So one of the post-credit scenes is Anthony Ramos after Mirage takes an ass whooping. He's fixing Mirage up with used parts. And then Toby Wigway's character comes back and be like, yo, you got this junk car? Bro, this car ain't nothing. Yo, you should sell it. I bet the car don't even start. And then Anthony Ramos is like, all right, bet it don't start. And Mirage transforms. But the second scene is Anthony Ramos' character is still trying to get a job. He goes at this warehouse facility a la Amazon for the 94 era. He goes there, he's talking to a guy, dude's looking at his resume, he's like, your resume's kind of thin. He's looking at it, okay. He says, and tell me about all these things that you did, you know. Well, tell me about this. He's like, yo, I had this Ramos, Anthony Ramos' character's like, yo, I had this big thing where I just worked with this group. It was kind of undercover, blah, blah, blah. You know, we were all listening. He was like, yeah, well, tell me about Peru. And Anthony Ramos was like, I never told you I was in Peru. He was like, yeah, but you were in Peru. He's like, yeah. He was like, well, tell me about it. He was like, yo, let me tell you something. I know about your resume, but your qualifications fit what we're looking for. We're putting together this team together, blah, 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 and take my card. And he was like, I don't know. Anthony Ramos was like, I don't know what you're talking about. So he takes my card and he opens up this facility behind the wall, and there's all these like vehicles being built and developed. Anthony Ramos looks at his card. His name's Agent Blake, if I'm not mistaken. Looks at his card, and on the back of his card says, G.I. Joe. They have been talking about this for a while. They are fucking connecting the Transformers and G.I. Joe universe. Now, here's the beautiful thing about that. We've been waiting on that since the original G.I. Joes, and they're going to reboot it now. There is another film set to come for my 80s and 90s kids who know this. It is called Mask, M.A.S.K. It stands for Mobile Armored Strike Command. It is with this group, they get these helmets and these cars that turn into different type of vehicles, and they fight a group named Venom. What's so significant about Venom? Who does G.I. Joe fight? Cobra. What do Cobra spit? Venom. So you're going to connect all that. And then Unicron technically is not destroyed. He's just sent back to another dimension, his dimension where he was. He wasn't allowed to come through. So Unicron is still a threat. Also, Unicron doesn't transform in this, so y'all can know. You just get Unicron as the planet, and he's still destructive as the planet. So the Unicron being in play is still a thing. Because, yeah, I know in the Transformers movie, you know, the Matrix opens up, Rodimus Prime opens up the Matrix, Light Our Darkest Hour, the Matrix helps destroy Unicron, head floating around, we see the rest of the series. We haven't gotten a Hot Rod yet, which means if we get an introduction to Hot Rod, we may be getting an Rodimus Prime. Sentinel Prime, when they introduced Sentinel, remember when they did Dark of the Moon, when they introduced Sentinel Prime? Sentinel transformed and looked like Ultra Magnus. So it may be a possibility we might get Ultra Magnus, but again, I think that includes us going more to Cybertron, and now with certain things that happen, the possibility of these Transformers on Earth going back to Cybertron is slim, but there isn't anything saying the Cybertronian Transformers, Autobots, and whatnot can come. So that's that. I love this movie all the way through, man. Like I said, there's so much more y'all got to see. Dominique Fishback is hilarious. Anthony Ramos is amazing. Their chemistry together works beautifully. Again, the fact we get the robots mainly are the story. And, you know, getting Air Razor, getting Cheetor, getting Rhinox, getting Optimus Primal, Scourge completely blowing my... I guess it's because I'm one, like I said, I'm a diehard G1 person, and I'll wrap it up on this. When I hear certain people, I'm like, ugh, but then they show me and otherwise. And again, I know you can't get a Galvatron without a Megatron, and I don't want to always have to deal with Megatron. So Scourge is cool, and who knows, now I might get Cyclonus. And we've gotten some triple changer type things, but who knows? But I want to know what you thought of this movie, y'all. Let me know down in the comments below. Like, subscribe, click on the notification bell so you can stay up to date when I'm dropping all these reviews. It is the summer. I got a bunch of them coming up for y'all here. I promise you don't want to miss it, all right? Please stay tuned. Thank you and blessings. If you want to support, please leave a super thanks. You can donate Cash App, Venmo, Mr. J Washington, MRJAY Washington. That's the same place to find me on Instagram and TikTok. I am there. Also, if you want to support on the Patreon, join the Supervillain Squad. Patreon.com/Mr. J Washington. I'm asking a question. I'm thinking about switching the whole Patreon. I'm thinking about moving it over to OnlyFans. And I know you're like, wait, you're going to be naked? No, OnlyFans is not just for nudity and freaky shit from what I'm hearing. So I'm thinking about it. We'll see. Because if I do that, I can add a whole lot more on a level with the Patreon and do it in OnlyFans and make it a bigger level. We'll talk about it. I'm not for sure. There's no guarantee on that. But please follow me. Check out the Mad Titan podcast. Me and BTD have been recording a couple weeks, so there wasn't a lot of information and news, and we talked about it. We said things probably weren't going to happen much until Comic-Con, and especially with this writer strike going on. And then the actors ourselves, we about to probably go on strike. It's going to be crazy. But we'll have a new episode coming out very soon, as well as the BBC Club podcast for myself, Moses Prim, and Chris Burns. Make sure you check us out everywhere. Give us a 5-star review on both podcasts. And if you want to watch the BBC Club podcast, check us out on the Moses Prim YouTube channel. Holla at y'all later. Take care. Bye.